We are live. This is the market update. Welcome to the Twilight Zone. They take crypto for housing. Amazing, right? However, crypto is not moving. The dollar on the blockchain is the most exciting crypto idea after 16 years of crypto. And stonks make a new all-time high and what has got to be the biggest short squeeze perhaps I've ever seen. Ever. I mean, stonks are into the Lux Algo premium zone, like into the middle of it with this just euphoric move, and crypto does nothing. Now, you're like, well, gee, Bill, happy Friday to you. There is a good thing to remember. We are most likely at a sentiment extreme. You have euphoria in equities and despair in altcoins. Don't believe me? Stick around. I got some charts for you. I got some tweets. We are at a sentiment extreme, and ironically, the Fed and poly market has become aware that the labor market is falling out of bed. That tech companies are laying people off. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. We could talk about it, but we shouldn't. It's happening. Okay. And the Fed is behind the curve on that, just like they were behind the curve on inflation, as anybody who watches the show knows. All right. Our friends, Roby, good morning. Thomas, all right. I will try to look at the World Liberty Financial coins if we can dig them up. Yes. Tyler, Yav, Lee, good morning. Appreciate you, sir. SGSG, the original. Hal Lopez, Miguel, and Tooth. Good morning. Okay, news. Let's go. How nice. Fannie and Freddie Mac will take crypto as collateral for a house. Is this a win for crypto? Yes. Does this demonstrate how broken the housing market is? Yes. In other words, if you have Fartcoin and it goes up and they take it as collateral, they'll loan you money to get a house because houses aren't affordable and the market really isn't trading, right? You don't have forced selling yet. You don't have what you had in 2008. You don't have the hyper leverage you had back then in housing. Okay. But prices are stuck up there and nobody can buy. So the market doesn't function. So, hey, want the markets to function properly? Use crypto. What a novel idea. What a novel idea. We could try this across the board. Back government bonds with Bitcoin. It's been discussed. I was there when Bobby Kennedy talked about it. Now let's talk about victory laps and despair. So the S&P 500 is now up 50% since Michael Burry from the 2008 Big Short fame told everyone to sell in 2023. More than likely he was buying, but that's okay. I don't think hedge fund managers put their position on Twitter. They put the opposite position on Twitter sometimes. Okay. So whoever this is taking a victory lap at Mr. Burry's expense, and victory laps are tops, and they can be tops. Maybe not today, but you got to be really careful of euphoria. And I swear to goodness, if you got an opportunity to exit, like not financial advice, this is a informative entertainment show. Okay. If you have equities, you might be looking for stage left. Exit, not crypto equities. You know, a lot of these big cap tech stocks. I saw something today that said somebody put together a list of the top 40 companies by 2030, and Google and Apple were not in the list. Whoa. Okay. The risk of a 20% sell-off. So volatility is collapsing. Sentiment is euphoric. This is the fear metric that you maybe have heard about. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into all the reasons why you might want to be careful in stocks. You have a victory lap and no fear. That's good enough. That's good enough mostly. So S&P, new all-time high. New all-time high. Bitcoin not at its all-time high, and ETH $2,500 below its all-time high. The pain is unbearable, and that's how you know it's probably a bottom, right? That crypto is headed for some kind of ramp once equities get done doing their thing. Fingers crossed, it's not one of those things where equities make a euphoric top and then it turns over. Let's hope that's not the case. The ideal case for crypto would that be equities would just kind of hang out in the premium zone and let that bid percolate into crypto. Okay. Fed moves to relax key capital rule. So we talked about this. We talked about it. The Fed wants more money in the system to buy government bonds. And the thing that's funny is it looks like all the new money in the system is buying stonks, which is funny, right? The odds of an interest rate cut by September have soared to 94%. So who does Powell work for? I don't know. Let's call it certain interests. Certain interests might be happy with some of the overseas developments lately. Then what do you know? Rates come down. Funny how that works. That and they're egregiously behind the curve on the employment situation. If for no other reason, it's just no growth. There's no growth in employment. So every marginal layoff makes the situation worse because there's nowhere for those people to go because there's no growth. Foreign investors have purchased $128 trillion in U.S. financial assets since 1991. According to Fed data, foreigners own 18% of the stock market, or $19 trillion. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, because the orange man may come in instead of tariffs and just tell everybody that if you want to invest in the United States, we're imposing a 1% or 2% tax on your 19 trillion. So if you'd like to invest here, you need to pay us instead of tariffs. How about that? Arthur Hayes talked about that. That's why this is relevant, and that's why you got to stay away from the euphoria over there. Now, naturally, that would also affect crypto. You know, I think the most important thing that I've been telling people is that whatever position you got, again, as a point of information, you might leave it. But you want to have stops. You want to move stops up. Because if crypto keeps going, awesome. But, you know, if there's like a failed rally here or it just can't get going, okay, who knows what happens with equities. So move the stops up, watch the leverage. One day, there's going to be a surprise, and it could be this, right? All right, short squeeze has gone too far. Time to start selling. That was on the 25th, and of course, naturally, it was up only after that. See what I'm saying? It's the summer, and there's a famous saying, don't short the quiet market. That's exactly what's happening in equities, right? It's the summer. People want to go on vacation. It's July 4th. Unfortunately, no, not unfortunately, either way, it's a perfect recipe for a melt-up. It is. Okay, so let's talk about a few things off the screen share. So the budget bill, they're not voting on that. They were supposed to vote today. Magically, they're not voting on it after everybody declared victory and left. The other situation that was ironically brought to an end by what I would call the Expletive, which is now a viral TikTok song. So when the Expletive got around, everybody got the message. It's funny, that word has that effect. And I think it's hysterical that the leader who used the Expletive about how everybody needs to stop playing around may have ended the conflict by showing everybody how angry he was. This includes the giant country in Eastern Europe who said, oh, I know we were talking about giving people arms, but are we just kidding about that? One F word changed everything. Now, are they going to get what they want on the big, beautiful, you know what? Or are they going to go back to the drawing board? I suspect they're going to go back to the drawing board because they cannot have another mess. And the 90-day tariff pause is here. In other words, the tariffs that were put on, the 90-day pause is ending soon. 50% on European goods. So what are they going to do about this? Hopefully they declare victory and leave. If they don't, this creates a huge issue for stonks. And it could also be a huge opportunity for crypto. Because remember, at the height of the tariff fear, Bitcoin decoupled from NASDAQ. NASDAQ was going down 2% a day, and Bitcoin went up 2% a day 2 days in a row. In the shot heard round the world. So I can see a situation where stonks correct, as long as it's not a mess, and Bitcoin actually goes up. And this says nothing about the cup of Kool-Aid I'm going to drink that says altcoins are completely oversold and everyone has given up. I don't know why, but they have. Like literally, people have absolutely packed it in on alt season. Like I saw a tweet today where someone was like, one guy said altcoins will never go up again. Another guy said, I made this list of all the things I wanted during alt season. Like I wanted to buy a car. And he changed it to, I want to buy a carpet. Meaning altcoins are never going up in our lifetime. I'm like, really? Really? So stonks up only with a victory lap and total despair in altcoins, right? Like there'll never be another alt season. I remember hearing this, right? At the bottom in 2019, winter. It's never going up again in our lifetime. When everyone says it's never going up again in our lifetime, when it goes up, it goes straight up. Straight up. And of course, what's really incredible is that, you know, the Senate Banking Committee chair, Digital Asset Subcommittee, okay, they want to have the crypto is legal bill done by September 30th. And Coinbase's legal department was panicking 2 months ago going, they're going to do stable coins and forget about the rest of us. I guess they need a win, huh? Tariffs, budget, I don't know, let's call it law enforcement, geopolitics. That's a quadruple whammy. What's the one winner? Crypto, right? Banks want the stable coins. Everybody wants the stable coins. And when everyone wants the stable coins, everything is going to pour into the rest of the market. It's like QE for crypto. QE for crypto. This says nothing about what happens when AI agents start doing trades. It's inevitable. Reasoning is coming. So here's the senator going, hey, we'd like to get this done by September. Congress is actually going to get something done on a deadline. Wow. Okay, here it is. I found it. 2025 alt season. Dated June 26th at 10 a.m. So note the paper's crumpled. So buy a car, buy a carpet. Save 10,000. Save 10. Buy a new phone case. Live a happy life. No, wait, just live. Start my own business, mind my own business. Are we bearish altcoins out there? People who trade altcoins want to buy a carpet instead of a car, or purchase a new phone case instead of a phone, or they just want to live versus living a happy life. What does that sound like? That sounds like a very important word in finance, revulsion. Revulsion. Now, when you have revulsion, what you have is no sellers. Why? Because no one's long. No one's participating. So when the next big person comes in, there's no one there to sell to them. So how do they get their order filled? Well, they have to bid the price up until they find a seller, which is exactly what happened with BlackRock and the Bitcoin ETF way back in the day. Bitcoin was at 16,000. Everyone thought it was going to 10,000 until BlackRock came in and goes, oh yeah, I'll take all that, all the way up to 30,000. What do you know? What's old is new again. XRP's price volatility crashes to the lowest level since November of last year. So sometimes when you have something like XRP, right, that's volatile, when it becomes not volatile, so not volatile, that it's perfectly positioned to make a huge break one way or the other. And gee, what way could XRP break? Let's see. Coinbase's stock is at $400. Circle is worth $60 billion. It dipped and people can't buy, they can't get enough, right? Because we're putting the entire US dollar financial system on the blockchain. And right now, in the mind of the market, there's only two plays, Coinbase and Circle. Now, what happens to XRP if tech companies, banks, you name it, start to get involved in other portions of the market? And you ready for this? What happens if altcoins do this over the thin July 4th American holiday? There's nothing the crypto market likes more than to have all the Americans at the beach or at Thanksgiving or on the couch watching TV or at the beach with their phone in the beach bag, having a good time, thinking that they're on vacation, only to look at their phone and go, oh my God, it just moved 25%. Most likely in the opposite direction of the way everyone is positioned. This time, it could be 25% up because everyone realizes the stablecoin trade is not just Circle and Coinbase. Hopefully, it's not down because of something ridiculous with equities. But with the fear and the loathing in altcoins, look at this. This is absolutely unbelievable. This is a commentary on America. So Uncle Sugar and Ripple go to court and said, you know what? We want to drop this. Both parties file a motion to drop it. And the judge says, well, sorry, we issued a penalty. We determined that these guys didn't follow the law. Sorry, you have to pay the fine. You have to, we can't drop it. Two people want to drop it. They won't let you drop it. And this, now, I don't know how this gets resolved. I'm sure they're going to figure it out. This is the case for crypto, right? You want to drop it, but you can't drop it. And when they do drop it, or it does get resolved, it's up only because the stablecoin trade has to spread out. It can't be just two stocks. Funny how many big brains work in crypto. After 16 years, the big application is the dollar on the blockchain. And look, it's Market Watch. It's your grandparents online. I remember Market Watch when it first came out. It was like hot market news on the internet in 2000. Market Watch. Seriously, if you watched Market Watch in 2000, you were super cool. Now, of course, it's super boomer, and they've all discovered stable coins. They'll eventually wind up doing the wrong trade. It'll be, at least with Coinbase and Circle, you know, the innovator was when they IPO'd this stuff. And now you've got imitators and frankly, idiots coming in, not seeing how this trade spreads out. Really. Okay. Despite reaching highs, spot volume in Bitcoin is low. Okay. The lack of volume follow through weakens the foundation. Okay. Now this is true. It's true, right? If you have a breakout, you want to have a breakout on heavy volume. Okay. Now, we haven't had a breakout to an all-time high. I don't see Bitcoin levitating to an all-time high like S&P. Although, you know, I could be wrong. Where you want Bitcoin to have high volume is on the breakout. You want Bitcoin to not only go through the all-time high, but go through the all-time high by like 10% and then have Michael Saylor buy it after it's gone up 10%. Right? In other words, have Michael Saylor go, I don't care about buying it at 112. Remember when everybody fell quiet at 99? It was like, oh my God, hey, how's it going to go through 100? How's it ever going to happen? You want the volume on the explosion. Now, that said, volume is a leading indicator of price. So the more volume that gets traded in a confined space, the bigger the move up. And that's true. And they looked that up. They did their LLM. You know, that's what they got, the journalists. And that makes sense. And of course, it's Glassnode. So, you know, they know that volume can lead price. Okay. But maybe volume isn't leading price because there's no liquidity, right? Don't short the quiet market. If there's no liquidity, if the volume that's being traded is either over the counter or not at all, this qualifies as don't short the quiet market, or watch out when the volume comes in. And as discussed earlier in altcoins, what happens if no one's there to sell? Maybe there's no volume because there's no seller. Something to cheer you up if the market is red. Okay, just as a reminder, this is probably from a long time ago. BlackRock says, I was a proud skeptic. I studied it. And I came away saying, I believe Bitcoin is legitimate. No, actually, Larry, what you said is we could dominate this because everyone's sleeping on it. Because that's my job, to dominate. Just like a football coach, right? In the NFL or a pro soccer team in Europe. Your job is to win every year. Every year. We're buying more Bitcoin every week, right? Long Bitcoin. Parentheses, there isn't enough, and we're about to have a problem with liquidity, so we're market buying whatever we can quietly, right? In other words, you know, when it goes down, you see these down days, right? They don't last. Like yesterday, oh, the market trade terrible. You're like, oh my God, this thing's going to go down. Everything's down 3%. Oh, it's awful. And it stops on a dime and just floats back up again. And I continue to believe London is buying it every morning. London walks in. Good morning, everyone. Let's have our English breakfast or whatever they do in London. I've been there a couple times. It's fantastic. And they're like, let's buy crypto. It's amazing how Europeans, every morning, they buy crypto. And then New York hits it so they can create a down day so they can buy crypto. I feel like every big market maker on the planet is short. World Liberty gets $100 million investment. Do you think people have figured out that buying sneakers, watches, meme coins, and investing in World Liberty is the way to get something done quickly in crypto? Be careful what you click on. Be careful what you brag about at the bar. Okay? It's that simple. Don't click on anything. Don't click on anything. It's like when I put the link for this, I'm like, okay, at least I have this like little secure little channel. People know it's me. It's unbelievable. Please protect yourself. It's a way of discourage. I mean, obviously, it's dangerous enterprise. It's bad actor. It's also a way of discouraging you, which I do not want. Okay, let's do TA. You know, with the stablecoin euphoria, I have to look at ETH. This looked terrible yesterday. I'm actually going to take this off. Right? And what people may not realize is this is like you glide up, that's 1. You glide down, that's 2. And then 3 eventually happens. You really maybe don't want to see this down here again, but it's set up. It's ready. Right? I think Bitcoin is also ready, right? You know, Bitcoin tried to get through this 110 area. This is not just an area. I mean, it's a DeMark kind of like blow off top level, right? This was the top, right? In mid-May, this was the blow off top. And then this has been the consolidation, the first leg up, the second leg up, and the third leg up could be very big. It could be bigger than this in theory. In theory. Right now, I think if the market goes up, it's Bitcoin first, then Bitcoin euphoria. Then I'm not even going to call it alt season anymore. I'm going to call it stablecoin season, right? What is related to stablecoins? And then this AI trade. I mean, there are, let me just come off this for a second. Do you realize that there are guys in legacy who are saying that artificial intelligence related equities, so that's everything from software companies to guys that make bulldozers for data centers, could wind up being like 3/4 of the market cap of US stocks? Like AI, according to them, is going to be that big. Now, naturally, they disclaim the statement by saying, well, maybe I'm making the top, but maybe they're not, right? What happens if this explosion, this like little perky thing we're seeing in equities today, perhaps it corrects, perhaps it doesn't. But how could that not filter into crypto? Reasoning, right? If everyone gets stable coins, what are they going to want? Are the kids going to go down to a local office, a brokerage firm, and say, can I make an appointment to figure out how to get yield on my stable coins or how to trade crypto like my friend? Or can I just stick my coins into an AI agent and have the agent do that? That would be incredible. Not to mention the fact that if agents started making and trading NFTs, right? Truth Terminal is an AI agent, obviously made by a human, but if it can make a funny, if it can make a funny toot coin, what happens if they revive NFTs? And what's that going to mean for Salana or Ethereum? Everybody thinks all this stuff is dead. Everybody thought it was dead in 2019 until DeFi came along, which is funny because now DeFi is coming around again in the form of stable coins. And somehow in crypto, we're all bearish. Or we're discouraged. We're not bearish, we're discouraged. Or if you're bullish, you feel like an idiot, which, that's, it's not easy to get on this thing every day and pound the table. Believe it or not, it's not. Because again, after days like yesterday, you feel like a total moron. Honestly. Now, if you want to feel like not a total moron, look at the Salana chart. Heidi ho, that's a 13 bottom. Hello. Right? They pressed support. They stopped everyone out. Then they did that final gliding. Remember I told you about this? Like you get the reversal and you're like, yes, LFG. But then they give you the wall of worry. They give you the I can feel it in the YouTube views, right? It's like, oh my God, it's bottoming. Next day, no one cares. This is when you care. You care when it's down or it's doing nothing. Because if this thing wakes up, forget about it. You realize that this thing has done nothing. This is Salana. Nothing has happened in this. Salana is where it was in March of 2024. What's been happening in Salana? Oh, Salana, meme coins. Oh my God, it's nothing has happened in Salana. Nothing in over a year. Right? And to drive the point home, we've discussed how Salana has been holding at 132. That's the support on the weekly. And then on the monthly, we have also discussed the great barrier reef in Salana at 180. Like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months. Salana has attempted to get through 180 and not been able to make it. Now, you might say, well, maybe we're going to have an awful summer. Maybe it's just going to sit here. Or you could think about the day when Salana does break through 180 and ask yourself, what's that world going to look like? In other words, at 132 in Salana, you may get paid to use your imagination and say, after 11 months of pressing 180 and failing badly, what happens when it goes through? And what could make it go through? Could meme coins come back? Sure. What happens when the normies flood onto Coinbase? Bitcoin Cash has already got a bid. Normies may be there right now. What happens if there are RWA plays or AI plays on Salana that come? New trades, new coins. You don't think we can have new coins? We had Bonk, then we had Whiff, then we had an explosion in meme coins that became so excessive, right? It was absurd, perhaps more absurd than NFTs back last cycle. So what could be next? Could it be institutional DeFi? Play it again, Sam. Either way, even if you can't figure out what it is, you can ask yourself, what happens if Solana is above 180? Or if you want to get nuts, right? Let's go back to ETH, right? Let's go to the monthly chart. Right, we're coming up to the end of the month, right? In ETH, just in case you're wondering, you have a 13 bottom here on the monthly chart. And all this gymnastics this month is it's basically unchanged. So you had a big reversal, and then you had a consolidation. Okay, so what? Remember the guy crossing off his alt season list? Like, carpet, phone case, mind my own business, live, not be happy. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. What are we doing? It's right there. It's right there. That's like, it's a long-term bottom. And it doesn't feel like a long-term bottom because everyone thinks a long-term bottom feels good. A long-term bottom actually feels terrible. Like here in ETH, like, I know I've told the story before, but like I'm online going, get to the chopper, get out. And everyone's talking about Bitcoin going to 60K and making a new all-time high. The guys that hated it at 10K here, we're talking about 60K up here. And I'm like, get out. Now, okay, everyone's bullish, but are they long? And do they have conviction? Michael Saylor has conviction, but look at the liquidations every time crypto goes down. This is the question. What is your conviction? What is your conviction? What is your position? Can you ride out any disturbances? Are you ready for the July 4th fireworks When the crypto market moves 20%, when Americans are eating hot dogs, watching baseball or football. It's incredible. They love to do it. Now is the time to actually start thinking about that trade, especially if they give you red down days like they did yesterday. And the final note is when the market is down and looks terrible, that's the best time to get involved, because the lesson of equities and the new all-time high, without going through the whole chart thing, you got paid to buy that when it was dramatically down, fear, greed at zero, and you got paid to buy that thing on any dip while everyone was still negative, right? A car, instead, I'm going to get a carpet. That could be a powerful tweet. That's the market update for this week. I will see you Monday.